Yeah, you know.
Lord knows if this gig ever ends.
There's a lot of young collectors out there that, you know, they collect a lot of this new stuff, but I want everybody to know these T206 cards that Mr. Rosen's talking about, they're available for the younger collectors too. It's not all about just busting these new packs. You know, go to your local hobby store. Go to a show. Go see some guys, man, and you know, you don't have to buy a lot of them all at one time. You don't have to go for the big deal if you're collecting these. You could start with buying one at a time. How much can you?
You know, in VGX condition, you can buy a Hall of Fame.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Mr. Pirate.
No.
Mr. Mint Pirate.
I have one of those cards. I just want to say I do. Yes.
You could buy for $50 to $75 a card in VGX of a Hall of Famer from 1909.
Right.
I think that you could buy a common for $15 or $10.
Right.
I think that's a great deal. Yeah. The only problem is, there's only one problem with that, with your theory, Doc. And that theory is a kid can bust a box of cards, and he can go home and watch a game. And those players that he just busted are in that box. And that's interesting.
Well, I understand that.
Does he know? Does he know who three-fingered Mordecai Brown is?
No,
does he care?
But it's a good way to learn the history of the game and bring you to, because baseball's America's pastime, and you know, apple pie, hot dogs,
and ice cream.
The people. Well, we try to cut that out, you know. But the people around the world, you know, not everybody even knows how to play baseball, and that's a shame because it's a very interesting game. It's the only game involving a ball that the defense has the ball. You know, you think about it. You know, basketball, the offense has the ball to score. Football, and that's what makes the game interesting. And again, you know, you go back to the days before television. People used to crowd those stadiums, man, and they lived for baseball.
With suits and ties.
That's right.
And hats.
And, you know, and because it's played during the summer, people always like to, you know, reminisce about their favorite time. It's usually the summertime, and that's when baseball was played, and, you know...
right to this day, I have the baseball package on cable, and I could sit... I don't necessarily have to see the Yankees or the Red Sox. I could watch a Kansas City and Detroit game.
You flick around
and try to manage the game. You know, football, holding on every play. Basketball, they only play in the fourth quarter. They don't play in the first three quarters. Hockey, people smashing each other with sticks. Baseball, to me, is the purest sport.
Yeah.
And for 9 innings, you could really learn a lot about the game, especially a youngster could learn a lot about the game watching with his parents.
Yeah.
About the game of baseball and how it's played, and strategies. There's so much strategy to baseball.
Yeah. It's a chess game.
Yes. And wonderful. They keep bringing in relief, but not years ago they had Luis Arroyo for the Yankees, but nowadays they have a guy for the 3rd inning, 4th inning, 5th inning, 6th inning, 7th inning.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to me to go along and manage. I sit there with a roster, and I check off as they use the players.
Do you still score the games?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool.
I think it's fun.
Yeah. Listen, Doc goes to a game, I still bring my glove.
You wear that wig?
What wig? I still.
What hump? Remember that Frank thing?
I still wear my. I still bring my glove. Just 2 years ago, Johnny G and we sat in the second row, right? You know, where Jeter dove into the stands.
Third base.
Yeah. We get the Lay's potato chips box seats right there, in the second row. And Doc's got his glove, Matsui's up, hits a towering fly ball. Okay? Johnny's elbowing me. It's coming our way. I said, relax, I got it. And it was the day that the Yankees went over $4 million. Okay, you remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. They gave away... Were you at that game?
No.
Oh, okay. Everybody thought it was going to be Bernie's last game, so they were chanting for him and what have you. But they gave away a little card, and on that card was a pin, and it was a thank you from Steinbrenner for letting us go over $4 million. Well, the Doc, the collector that he is, I had to keep the pin attached to the card.
Absolutely.
Well, I put the card in I had a pair of sweatpants on. I put the card in my pocket.
And you got stuck.
Well, what happened was the card kept my pocket open. So when I went up for the ball, my pocket got caught on the arm of the chair. So when I went up, it wouldn't let me go up anybody. And I looked down at the last minute to see what was holding me, and I went up, and the ball hit the heel of my glove, fell over. Everybody, you know, it ensued and jumped onto it, and I didn't get the ball.
$10.
Yeah.
For $10, people
But it's
kill themselves.
it's the thrill of getting a ball from a player, you know, in the major
absolutely.
leagues.
Absolutely.
You know, you're talking billions of people on this planet, and at any given time, how many major leaguers are there? How many?
900.
900. So to become a major leaguer, you know, and
880 or
I
something.
tell people, you know, people say, this guy's a bum, that guy's a bum. Hey, he made it to the major leagues, man. So when you talk about the kids opening the cards today, you're right. They want to see the players that are playing. But as far as the kids that really want to collect vintage stuff, there's still a lot of it out there to find. You can buy it reasonably. Hey, you know, you said $75 for a Hall of Famer in good condition. You can buy a box of the new stuff for $75. I understand. But, you know, it's a good way for them to get a collection started. And then as they get older, you know, maybe they want to hand that collection down to their son.
Look, you know, Cy Young. I don't need to direct
Go.
it back, but Cy Young. Nowadays, pitchers, great pitchers, crawl to 300 wins. Cy Young had over 500.
Yeah.
You can buy his card for $50.
I know.
A Cy Young. Yeah. You could buy Christy Mathewson, Walter Johnson, one of the greatest pitchers of all time. He's 2,000 strikeouts ahead of every pitcher who ever lived. Yeah. And his card is, you know, not a mint card, but you can get a nice card for $75 to $100, and I think that's a bargain.
I think so too, yeah. And again, you know, it's good when kids can learn the history of the game. You know, there's a lot more available to the kids today than when we were younger because of the media and you know, you got 600 channels on TV to flick through, and you've got stuff like on the Yes Network with the Yankeeography, and they go through the history of the player, and you find a lot of, you know, Thurman Munson. I did not know until that interview a year or two ago that he passed away in the plane. I thought he died from the plane crash, and he actually was stuck in there, and the other two guys on the plane couldn't get him out in time, and he said, get out. And, you know, I didn't know that without, you know, watching on.
Good.
Yeah, so, you know, a lot of times, you know, there's a lot more information out there for the kids today, and, you know, it brings them closer to the older players that, you know, they only have heard about and have never seen.
Also, going to a game. You know, I'm a Yankee fan, so, you know, I've been all my life. To me, it's not the same walking in Shea Stadium as walking in Yankee Stadium. I don't know why, but when you walk in Yankee Stadium to see a real baseball
there's an aura there.
with real players. I mean, professional baseball professional baseball players. Do you know how good you have to be a professional baseball player? Millions and millions and millions of people try, but only 0.1% even make the minor leagues.
Yeah.
And you have to, you know, we curse guys, you know, A-Rod and these guys. You know, guys hitting 260,
We're a
270.
little hard on them.
Do you know how good you have to be to hit 260 in the major leagues?
Yeah. Ty Cobb, you know, probably the best hitter of all time, maybe. Okay, was once asked when he was a, you know, much older man. He said if you and this was I believe in the 60s. He was asked if he had played in today's game, what would he hit? And without hesitation, he said 272 or 270. And the fellow interviewing him said, 270? He goes, Mr. Cobb, you're a, what was he, a 360?
350 or 360.
Lifetime hitter. He says, well, I am 72 years old. So what he was saying was, even being old, he could still play with the kids today and do a bang-up job. So
he died in 1961.
Right. Well, that's when he was being interviewed.
In California, Menlo Park.
Yeah. I watched the movie with what's his name? Who played Cobb in the movie there? Tommy Lee Jones? Right. So that's where I picked that up from. So if you can get a copy of that and watch it, Cobb, he was a real son of a gun, but it's a good movie to watch and learn a little bit about the guy. He used to booze it up and run around. And
Nowadays, we're in the lives of the players every day. You know what A-Rod eats?
Media, yeah.
You know what what girls Jeter goes out with?
Yeah.
I mean, not in the 50s that didn't happen. And Mantle, Martin, and Boyer, I mean, they went out, caused all kinds of havoc, but we don't know that because, their personal lives. Look, I know Reggie Jackson real good, and Pete Rose very well. Do you know that if you invite them someplace, to a public place, they don't like to go, or they will not go, in most cases.
I don't feel comfortable.
I know, but that's, That's a big cross to bear. Just because they're a baseball player. Like, I invited Pete Rose to go to a racetrack. I had some horses out running out in Chicago. And I invited him one night. He was signing autographs, and I invited him to go. He says, I'd be on the front page of every newspaper. But why can't Pete Rose go to the track? I don't understand why he can't go to the track, but it's a curse. Joe Garagiola once told me that he doesn't like Reggie Jackson too much, and he says,
that right?
Yeah, no, he thinks he's a show-off. But Garagiola says, unlike your buddy Reggie, when you're in public, it's your duty to sign autographs. The only two places I do not sign autographs are at a church and in a public, at a family function.
Is that
I
right?
will not sign autographs. I've gone out to dinner with Joe, and he could have a fork go in his mouth, and someone will come over with a napkin. I don't mean to interrupt your dinner, Mr. Garagiola, but would you please sign this? And I think that's a big burden. You know, none of us sitting here, well, except maybe you, Doc,
I get it.
have a problem. And I know you told me.
I think it might be my jacket.
Prior to the show, that you had all these people outside, that, and you were a real big shot now because you had this gig going on the internet.
Sometimes when they see me driving my McLaren, they you got like 3 or 4 of them.
No, I don't have any.
It's tough. We have Mark Leiter. The Leiter brothers, Alan Mark.
I know from experience because I handled the memorabilia from Mr. Leiter's divorce, Mark Leiter's divorce.
Oh, okay. Mark he
lives here.
Mark's a very good friend of the Doc. He's an avid collector, and he's here very often. Once, twice a week. And, he gets the same thing. His kid plays for the local high school, and sometimes when he goes around, he just wants to go and be the dad. Or
he wants to be Mark Leiter.
Yeah,
he doesn't want to be a baseball player.
And sometimes it's a little rough.
Look at Mickey Mantle.
Yeah.
Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, they can't go anywhere. They're bothered all the time for autographs.
Well, you even look on some of the games, some of the guys, they got disguises on, they got wigs and glasses, and I don't know what's up with that, but, they just don't want to be noticed.
But you don't understand, a person looking at that, a normal person looking at that doesn't understand why he's disguised or why he doesn't want to be seen. A famous player can't sit in the stands and watch a baseball game without being inundated with autograph requests, and that's okay. I mean, look, a kid goes up and he sees a baseball player sitting there watching the game. I mean, of course he's going to ask for an autograph. But
all the guys that the players, coaches that you've become acquainted with over the years, any of them big collectors? You do any deals with any of them?
Andre Dawson is a huge collector.
Okay.
Gary Carter has all the Topps and Bowman sets.
Is that right?
Yeah, I finished his 1953 Topps set.
He's a good guy, too. I've met him a few times.
Very nice.
Very good.
Very nice. There are a lot of that. Look, Harmon Killebrew, Brooks Robinson, Paul Honing. I mean, I could name you 100 guys that I walk up to.
They're more accessible.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Montana. Every time Joe says, how are the kids out? How's your wife, Marnie?
Right.
Joe Montana knows my wife's name. I think that's... Forget that he knows her.
Well, he's a class act, that guy.
But that's classy, to know my wife's name.
Yeah.
I mean, I meet guys like that, my hands shake. I think it's cool meeting guys that you can't meet the guys of today, though.
Talking Joe Montana, man. Guy's a legend.
Joe Montana is smaller than I am. You look up to some of these guys. Oh, Joe Montana comes up to here on there. He's slight.
Yeah.
He's not.
He was like a 3rd-round pick, Joe, wasn't he?
I had no idea he was game.
When you walk up, Dan Marino, I've been next to, I've had dinner with
Marino's
Dan.
a big guy.
And Marino's big.
He's a big guy. Big
Marino's
hands.
huge.
Yeah.
But, boy, some of these guys, Gordie Howe, I know him pretty good. Mm-hmm. He's a small little guy. Mm-hmm. Much smaller than I am.
Talking about...
Yeah, but I mean, you think, God, they're bigger than life. God, Gordie Howe. And then you look at him and you say, holy shit, he's... Henri Richard, the great Montreal, the pocket rocket. He is so tiny. He's like your size. And you look at him and say, holy shit, that's pocket Richard. I look at people, I could stare at famous people, players, for hours. Just looking at them, God, looking at their rings. And I think famous, sports players are just cool to look at, to me.
It's a unique thing because even once
when they're nice to you, that's even better.
Oh, sure, yeah. When their career's over, they have a whole nother life after that a lot of people don't really understand, and like you say, go and play. It's hard to just go and have a sandwich somewhere, even after you've played. But you talked about baseball before, and we just talked a little bit about the size of the players, and the doc really feels because baseball's America's pastime, it's the kind of sport where you don't have to be 300 pounds of muscle. You don't have to be 6'10" to be able to dunk. I mean, remember Fred Chicken Stanley?
Yeah.
Brian Doyle was an MVP.
Dykstra.
Brian Doyle, MVP of the World
Lenny
Series.
Dykstra. Lenny Dykstra, of course, he bulked up later on. But
Gee, I wonder why.
Lenny, I told you what Dawson told me.
Yeah.
You can't go from 30 to 70 in 1 year.
That's right.
It's not happening.
Yeah.
But Lenny Dykstra, he's like tiny guy.
Yeah.
You think, God, he's a baseball. Brady Anderson. I met Brady Anderson of the Orioles. There's another guy who went from 12 to 50 in 1 year, and then out.
Yeah. But
they're small guys.
I really say that for the kids out there. Don't worry about if you got the best arm on the team right now or if you're the fastest guy. You play hard, you have a hard work ethic, and maybe you move up, you make it to
talking about the sandwich.
Oh, he's still talking about that corned beef sandwich over there. It smells good, don't it?
Yeah, it does.
That's from Wolfie's Deli. They're delicious. Oh, they're great down there. They have good corned beef. They got everything down there.
Mr. Mint Pirate.
Captain Jim Mint.
Captain Jim Mint.
But, Doc just loves the game of baseball, the collecting the cards and everything. And I just like to tell everybody out there, you work hard, you persevere, and, hey, you get called up, you're playing freshman baseball right now, or you're a sophomore, you're on JV. That doesn't mean you can't make the varsity team. Or if you're in the minor leagues and you're playing single A ball and you say, I'm going nowhere, you work hard, you keep at it. Doesn't matter how big or small you are. And, talent's what
not
counts and heart.
Yeah, basketball counts and football
that's right. That's right. But that's why the doc thinks baseball is such a unique sport. The defense has the ball. It doesn't really matter how big you are. And
look at Johnny Damon. He doesn't have a good arm. He's small.
He's pretty fast, though.
I'm a Yankee fan, but
okay.
Damon he's okay.
He looks funny in a Yankee uniform.
Look how he's small. He's tiny.
Yeah.
But he's one of the greatest. He's a great baseball player, but he's small.
Yeah.
You don't have to be 6'8", and be able to dunk like you said, Doc.
Yeah. Yeah. How about getting back to the collecting thing? You do the buying from 1869 to 1969. Somebody calls you up and they say, "Hey, Mr. Rosen, I have 5,000 cards from 1973, and they're in great condition. Are you interested?"
And I say, "No, thank you. Thanks for calling." And I try to give the person one or two leads, in the area where he's from.
Right. But you advertise that pretty big now, 1869 to 1969.
Do you know how many people call me? With all due respect, Doc, to New Cards and the advertisers and the the people who support the show. I don't even know some of the players. I don't even know some of the companies. I mean, I looked at your cases before, and I didn't even know what company made the cards.
Is that right?
It's passed me by, Doc.
Right.
If it's not a Topps or a Bowman, I always say if it's shiny, I don't buy it. If it's shiny, I don't buy it. I just think I know the value of the old cards by heart. I know every card. Well, not every card. I know most every card ever made. I know what it's worth, where I can sell it, if it's a rare card or not a rare card, if it's in demand or not in demand. You put me in, it's a completely different world.
Well,
this, looking at new card game. You guys pulling these cards. It's a Mantle. It's a 114, a 128.
Well, the whole world is more diversified now. The kids today are more multifaceted. There's 600 channels on TV, and they're watching like 8 of them at one time. So, or they're on their computer doing the IMs, and they're talking to 18 different kids and their friends.
But my phone calls are a lot from young people who just, Mr. Mint, I just pulled a 101. Well, if I was you, I'd put it on eBay. It's just not. That's not a rare card. I understand it's a rare card, but I'd rather buy a Mickey Mantle card than a 101.
That's your gig.
That's my thing.
So